They broke through the third dimension. Humans weren't supposed to do this. 2,000 years ago, Mao Shan masters discovered a way to pierce through the limits of human reality, a path that could lead to physical immortality, a way to transform their current third dimensional bodies into higher dimensional light bodies. But here's what almost nobody knows. Those same practices never stopped. They evolved. And right now, they're guiding people beyond the third dimension into 5D consciousness. This is the hidden bridge between ancient immortality and the modern ascension movement. And today, you're going to see how it works. You see, the Mao Shan immortals never left. And right now, I'm working with them. Now, these aren't the same immortality rituals that they practiced 2,000 years ago. The Earth's frequency has shifted. Now, don't get me wrong, the old ways work perfectly. But now, those techniques are being retooled for our modern era. And what I'm about to share with you isn't just the history of the Mao Shan sect. It's the living, breathing path we use right now to build our light bodies. Today, I'm working with those same Mao Shan immortals from thousands of years ago, and they are showing me how to adapt their ancient light body practices for the current frequency the Earth is shifting into right now. In this video, I'll take you back to the true beginnings of this path and then bring you right up to the present moment with the new techniques they've given me so you can build your own light body and prepare for the higher Earth that's already forming. This is not just history. This is a living transmission. 2,000 years ago, a woman named Lady Wei Huachan was visited by light beings who transmitted to her methods of achieving immortality. Now, that piece of information on its own sounds interesting, except for I've just looked at this. I haven't looked at this history in a long time. And when I looked at this today and looked at it deeper, some things came out that I had missed the first time around. And what I found was what has been happening to me and those who have been doing the work with me is the exact same thing that happened to this founder of the ancient Mao Shan tradition. Light beings showed up because of her practices. Now, she had been doing spiritual practices, and whatever it is that she did in the astral realm got the attention of beings in a dimension that they call the dimension of highest clarity, in Chinese Shangqing. And these beings came to her, and because of what she was doing, they said, you've gotten our attention. We want to share you methods of immortality. And they started teaching her very specific physical methods. On top of that, they would take her in astral travels all over the universe to different dimensions. They would give out titles. She'd go and meet some other higher dimensional being, the Lord of who knows whatever, and that being would say, I now give you the title of such and such. It's the same experience that I've had and other people have been having. I forgot that was how this thing all started. So these beings, as I said, came from a dimension called supreme clarity. I think another way to call that is highest consciousness, complete awareness. This is what I've been talking about, expanding into your truest understanding of who you are on a higher dimensional level. The followers of Supreme Clarity Immortality founded a temple retreat on a mountain named Mao Shan. All other later Taoist temples were based on Mao Shan teachings. So the ironic thing is that Mao Shan has a bad reputation, unless people want to talk about it historically. Then they say, oh, historically they have good things to say about it. But the actual Mao Shan practitioners have a bad reputation. And the interesting part is that the Taoists who give the Mao Shan people bad name got all of their knowledge from the Mao Shan. All of it. So the purpose of all Mao Shan energy techniques was to achieve union with the higher dimension of supreme clarity. The Mao Shan practitioners believed that they could literally shift their physical frequency and physically ascend to a higher dimension. So you may not have been led to believe that that's what Taoism was about. You know, Zen Buddhism? Zen Buddhism came from Taoism, and the whole idea of Zen or Ch'an is to go into emptiness. And so you've been led to believe that Taoists are people who just want to seek this kind of emptiness and just be at peace with everything. That's not what Mao Shan Taoism was about. Sure, that's part of it. I mean, achieving that in meditation, that's great, but that's one tiny little thing. No, these Mao Shan practitioners, they were completely focused, dedicated, obsessed, if you will, in learning how to physically shift to a higher frequency. So these Mao Shan practitioners believed they could literally shift their frequency and physically ascend to a higher dimension. The ascension techniques included various types of energy work, meditation, and especially astral travel to speak with higher dimensional masters. So I've already told you this, but that was a huge part of what they did. And they sought to leave their body and go and communicate with other beings in other dimensions. And the fact that they had the balls to go do this, those other beings would then give them all kinds of power, all kinds of knowledge. Sound familiar? So the astral masters would guide the Mao Shan practitioners in their astral travels to other dimensions, give them power and official titles to govern the earth and the universe. So this was a big thing about the Mao Shan. I mean, I'm only realizing it now as I'm looking at it and researching it again, and I'm realizing that that was a huge thing. That they'd go off in astral travels and these beings would give them titles and talismans and powers and give them authority. This was a huge thing. To give them authority to govern and rule in the astral plane. So while the other Taoist mountains focused on external rituals like talismans and prayers, the Mao Shan focused on practical techniques for immortality, exorcism, and spiritual power. Now, I have a lot of respect. I've learned a lot from other Taoist sects who do all kinds of wonderful things. And I've incorporated a lot of that in some of my teachings. But some of the purpose of these other Taoist mountains was to be part of the ruling elite, to be part of, helping to guide society. If you wanted to have blessings for your child, if you wanted to get rich, if you wanted to be successful, if you wanted to, connect to your ancestors or pray to the gods or pray for a good harvest, the other Taoist mountains were really good for that. They did a lot of other cool stuff, but they were also more, shall we say, mundane. And again, they had a lot of support from imperial rulers, whereas the Mao Shan had no interest in any of that. They weren't interested in following strict religious codes. They weren't interested in following commandments, or they didn't really care about becoming rich or having a good harvest or whether or not you have a lot of kids. They were only focused on one thing, and that was achieving this physical immortality, this shift. Now they learned along the way that in order to do that, they had to purify energy. So because of the very high frequency of this highest clarity heaven energy that they were bringing into their bodies, they found out that they had the ability simply with their energy to destroy ghosts and evil spirits. And this frightened a lot of people. So the Mao Shan's reputation for incredible magical power became so famous that government and religious leaders became envious and frightened. So you can understand that. somebody who has the power to, the stuff that I've heard about from my teachers, as well as the things that I've seen, the things that I've experienced, things like walking through walls, making things appear and disappear, this was nothing to them because that wasn't what they were focused on. And you find out that when your whole focus is to completely shift the physical matter of your body up to a higher frequency, then things that have to do with, breaking the laws of physics that's just something that happens. It's just a byproduct. And another byproduct was destroying evil, destroying negativity. So if you got the power to walk into a haunted place and simply with your energy destroy evil spirits, you can be sure that corrupt, evil people are going to be scared to death of you. Why? Because they won't be able to control you. How do they control you? With fear. And what is more frightening than ghosts and demons? So if you got somebody that can look a demon in the face and not be frightened, that's somebody that you can't control. So they became very threatened by these people eventually. So the original Mao Shan masters were forced to go into hiding as the rulers began hunting them down. Disinformation campaigns were launched branding the Mao Shan as evil black magicians. Now I know from firsthand experience. Now things have changed. I've been alive for a while and a lot of things have changed. But 30 years ago, I could still walk up to any Chinese person, especially somebody if they were a Taoist. They would, and if I told them I was practicing Mao Shan spirit fighting, some of them would get so frightened they would just turn around and walk away. Some people would say, you got to be careful, demons will jump into your body and kill you. And other people, like I've said this before, an abbot, I could give you his name and where he is, in his Taoist temple. He would not let me in the front door just to meditate. He was so afraid of me. And his master in China told him to do that. So out of both envy and also greed for imperial donations, the other Taoist sects also began slandering the Mao Shan, unless, of course, they needed somebody to clear a haunted area. That is something that did happen. There was a book I read, I can't remember the name of it, a long time ago. It was really well known, 2 or 3 decades ago. And it was written by a guy who was a Hua Shan, not a Mao Shan, a Hua Shan Taoist monk, and he was writing about what it was like before communism and World War II took over and destroyed, all the religions. And he, of course, had to escape, and he came to the United States. I think he lives in Chicago, if he's still alive. And he talks about how, when they'd be traveling through the mountains to different Taoist mountains, they'd travel through the forest and the mountain paths, and they'd run into the Mao Shan guys. And he talked about how powerful these Mao Shan guys were, and how even they, in their temple, they would ask a Mao Shan to come and destroy the evil spirits. What they'd do is they'd pay them money, and then they'd ask them, please leave. The Mao Shan would leave. This is the difference between the Mao Shan and the other Taoists, even back in the day. So over the centuries, the real Mao Shan practices have gone underground and evolved into even more varied and powerful techniques to awaken and activate the energy portals of the body to achieve physical immortality and mastery over 3D reality. Now, I can tell you from personal experience, there's stuff that you'll never find in history books about this. So 2,000 years ago, the Han Chinese were the people who were ruling China at that time, and there were people, Lady Huachan was part of the Han ethnicity. So those Han Chinese people ended up getting hunted down because over the years, all of the political wars and all that, and they had to make their way down into southern China. These people are now known as the Hakka. So as you know, the martial art that I teach, if you look at it, it looks like a Hakka martial art. Well, that's because the Grand Master 100 years ago, who channeled these practices that I'm teaching you, he had to have a way to function in society. And so 100 years ago, the way that you did that, especially he lived in the United States, is that you went to the Chinese community and you performed some function. So they knew that he was a Tao master. And he didn't say he was a Mao Shan Taoist. In fact, he said that he lived in the Shaolin temple, which was a way to make him look good. Because if people knew he was Mao Shan, they would be scared of him. But he had to make a living, so he taught martial arts. And what he did himself was, behind closed doors, he actually channeled practices that would give him the power to shift and leave his body. And at the same time, they looked like Hakka martial arts. And in fact, they were very powerful, extremely powerful martial arts. As it turns out, more powerful than other martial arts. But what he did was brilliant because he was able to keep this going and teach it to other people, but still look like a normal person. Well, I don't have to do that. I can teach you the actual truth. I can teach you the methods, the most powerful methods there are, and I don't have to hide anymore. So I learned from various Mao Shan teachers. Each of them had different parts of the entire system. After decades of study, research, reverse engineering, and my own channeled information, I have modernized this science. Now, as I said earlier, I was going to tell you when you found out who these ascended masters were that started this to Lady Huachan, it was going to blow your mind. Well, as it turns out, 3 years ago, as you know, I did human-initiated contact with higher dimensional extraterrestrials. I've communicated with a lot, but the first ones that broke through were mantis beings from a higher dimension. I've come to find out that this art that I'm teaching comes directly from them. In fact, one of the first things that I teach you is how to put your hands into the same position as a mantis being. So this tradition is continuing. One of the differences now is that the Mao Shan immortals can now come out of hiding because this earth is shifting and they can tell us who they really are. They're higher dimensional beings from other dimensions, from other civilizations, and they have been here for thousands of years teaching human beings how to shift up to their frequency. So the Supreme Clarity Immortals have specifically told me exactly what was told to Lady Huachan. They are saying that through specific energy practices, meditations, and astral travels, we can physically shift our body's frequency to literally ascend to the dimension or the heaven of great clarity. So there's something else that I want to share with you which I found very, very interesting, and I'll share that with you in a moment. But I just now went back and looked at this. I haven't looked at this official history for years. And like I said, it bored me. I didn't really understand it. I just wanted the practices and to learn. But I'm coming to find out that what the light beings have been telling me is exactly what they told Lady Huachan. Now, something else came up as I started doing research for this video that absolutely blew my mind. And 2,000 years ago, the Mao Shan masters who learned from, now I believe, the higher dimensional extraterrestrials, these people predicted what we are experiencing right now. They not only predicted what we're experiencing, but they predicted what's going to happen. So for 2,000 years, the Mao Shan have predicted that there would be a time of great chaos. And here's the interesting part. The seed people would be gathered and taught in the ways of true peace and would ascend to a perfect earth. So it even came down to this. They said there was going to be a time of war, a time of plague, that there was going to be diseases, that there was going to be floods and fires. What is happening right now? Everything that I just said. Yeah, you can say that's happened throughout history, but just in terms of floods, for example, here in the United States, and I know it's true in other countries, there have been record floods that like once in 1,000-year flood, but happening every week for 4 or 5 weeks in different parts of the country. That's just the floods part. So yeah, famine, wars, floods, and fires had happened all the time, but not at the levels we're seeing right now. They said that this time would come. And they also said that there was going to be a transformation. They didn't talk about it the same way that we do now, but they were saying the exact same thing. They said there would be a time of great chaos and the seed people would be gathered. So what is one of the most favorite terms for somebody who's seeking to evolve? They're called star seeds. People call themselves star seeds. And if you ask a star seed who they are, they're going to say, I come from a higher dimension and I'm specifically here to help shift the earth to a higher dimension. I'm not from here, that's why I don't like it here, that's why I don't get along with this world, that's why things are challenging for me. I'm a star seed. Well, the Mao Shan said that these people were going to come. That these people were going to come, they were going to be born into this planet, and they would be gathered. And then they would be taught. They would be taught specific practices that would allow them to shift. Not only that, but they said, again, this is 2,000 years ago. And they said, you know what else they said? They said that people would be given a choice. That they could either learn the truth, they could learn the ways of peace, or they could be swept away in the flood and pulled down to a lower frequency. They didn't use the word frequency, but that's exactly what they meant. So for 2,000 years, the Mao Shan have predicted there would be a time of great chaos and the seed people would be gathered and taught in the ways of true peace and would ascend to a perfect earth. Not only would they ascend to a perfect earth, but they would be given power to rule that earth. They would be given titles from the other higher dimensional beings who would place them in positions of authority to rule over the world. And the way that this new earth would be ruled is through what is called Wu Wei. Now, one of the translations of Wu Wei means non-interference. And that's what I've been saying. The fantasy that I have about this world is that the people who have the power would simply send out their energy and create a safe space, and people would follow the truth of their own heart. Nobody would be telling them what to do. There would be no laws. There would be no government. There would be no money. There would be no banks. There would just be the spirit. This is exactly what was being said 2,000 years ago. So the missing piece was the teaching of the heart stargate, where humans could activate the higher dimensional portal in their body that would channel the frequency of the dimension of great clarity, which we call 5D, directly into a person's body. So I want you to visualize this. In your heart center, there is a piece of technology. It's a stargate. And what does it do? When you put something into a transporter beam, and it transports it somewhere. That's what this is. But so far, it has only been programmed to transport the soul here into the third dimension. But what if you recalibrate this? What if you go in and you change the parameters of this piece of technology to create a portal completely around your body so that your body becomes a stargate and you can decide where it goes? And that's what opening the heart stargate does. It creates a toroidal field. We already know this. Just naturally for people, the heart creates a toroidal field around the body. And when a person dies, that toroidal field goes away because the heart is the Stargate. But imagine being able to empower that Stargate to such a degree that your entire body is able to be shifted up. We need to stop looking for something outside of us to come and do this. I know I myself was waiting for the flash, the solar flash that would instantly change everything. I know I was looking for that as well. And every time I would ask the light beings, when is this shift going to happen? They would say, when you decide. Drove me crazy. But now I understand. It's because we have the technology. It's right here in our heart center. It's been with us, and we have the ability to reprogram it. But just like reprogramming, some physical piece of technology, sitting there looking at it and thinking I want it to change doesn't do anything. You have to get out the tools and tinker with it and move that and change that and reprogram it. Well, that's what we do, except we do it with very simple physical movements. Very simple physical movements combined with the meditation practices that we do, combined with the mantras that shift our frequency, combined with our intent. If we open up our yi, our third eye, which the Mao Shan does, it opens up the qi, the shi, and the yi, as opposed to these other Taoist practices that open the jing, qi, and the shen, which ends up doing nothing but make you feel healthy and happy and at peace. But that's not going to work in this world anymore. You can't just be peaceful and sit around and be okay in a screwed up world. You have two choices. You can either go with the flood down the river to the lower dimensional frequency, or you can flip on the Stargate transporter portal within you and then create a toroidal field around you that will shift you up. So the Supreme Clarity Immortals have specifically told me exactly what they told Lady Hua Chan. Oh, I already talked about this. So the seed people would be gathered, taught in the ways of true peace, and would ascend to a perfect earth. The missing piece was the teaching of the heart Stargate, where humans could activate the higher dimensional portal in their body that would channel the frequency of the dimension of great clarity directly into their body. So this is not a path of belief. This is not a religion. This isn't believe and you'll be saved. This isn't be a part of the club. This isn't about virtue signaling. This is a completely individual path. You and the cosmos and your teachers, who are now higher dimensional light beings, who want to give you the power to flip on the technology that is already in your body, and then there will be an unlimited amount of higher dimensional frequency that will give you clarity, that will give you complete awakening, complete consciousness. It will shift you to the frequency of the highest clarity, Shang Qing. This is not a path of belief. Anyone who learns how to activate the heart Stargate and channel the higher frequencies into their body can literally and physically ascend to a higher dimension. Now, I don't expect you to believe me. Maybe you can feel the energy that's coming through this video. Maybe not. I can feel it right now. I can feel that what I'm saying is making the light beings extremely happy. But if you're like me, you're not going to just take somebody at their word. I wouldn't. I have given you the techniques to prove that this works. So if you're brand new at this and you don't know what I'm talking about, and or you've been watching my channel but you haven't actually done it, let me tell you exactly how you can accomplish what we're talking about. So for beginners, there's the 90-day Warrior Lightning Qigong. That is very easy to find. All you have to do is go to thunderwizard.com right here, and this will come up. If you click memberships, you scroll through, you'll see this. See there on the left, Warrior 90-day Lightning Qigong. Don't worry about the Mao Shan level 1 yet. You're not ready for that. Click on Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong and follow that. There's 3 phases to it. Just follow it. It will transform you. Now, if you're still a beginner, but you're like, listen, I don't have time to go through all that. I need to feel that right now. No problem. We have that as well. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to thunderwizard.com and you want to click on Shop. And when you click on Shop, you are going to see the Awakening the Immortals. That's not it. There it is. Summoning the Immortals, Moving Qigong. Right there. It's $29. Won't cost you anything. You're like, okay, but I really want to just get to the core of this. I'm just learning. There's another one you can do. See right next to it, Celestial Qigong, the foundation of Mao Shan energy work. I did that almost 20 years ago, reverse engineered what made this thing different. And I ended up creating, without trying to, the most powerful Qigong practice. So much so that Tai Chi and Qigong masters who have done it get back to me and they say, I've never felt anything like this. This is at a much higher frequency level. So those are some ways that you can go and find out if what I'm telling you is the truth. Prove me wrong. The only way you can prove me wrong is by whether or not these practices have an effect on you or not. And if they don't work, then you don't have to waste your time. But if they do work, I am still here for you. So we have those for the beginners. Go to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. There's a practice called the Small Quantum Butterfly Hands, which is free with the Lightning Qigong on phase 3. And Awakening the Immortals is very cheap in the shop. And again, these practices will help anyone with the heart-mind energy called the Shin. This is the energy that the other Taoists don't know about. If they did, they would not have been so afraid of the Mao Shan. So the Shi is the electromagnetic energy that surrounds the soul. It's more powerful than anything in this dimension. Normally it stays self-contained to keep the soul safe and to keep third dimension safe. Because if you release that into the third dimension, it shifts everything up. Well, the time to do that is now. So the light beings are saying, let that go. Let the Shi go. Shift it up. Let's go. We'll help you. All right. So what if you've already done that and you want to go further? Well, then the intermediate is the 5-element spirit fighting sets. That can be found on the shop in Patreon or at the maoshan.thunderwizard.com website. If you want to get started and do all 5, go there and get it. If you need to do it one set at a time, either because you want to take your time or maybe you're challenged financially, go to thunderwizard.com, hit the shop, and you'll see the 5 elements there. Start with wood. You'll know what I'm talking about. The energy will be there, I guarantee you. So another intermediate practice is the first set, Butterfly Hands of Creation. Now this is a standalone set. So if you've done the 5 elements, but you're not ready to go all the way to the first spirit fighting set, then do the Hands of Creation. I recommend getting the first spirit fighting set because the butterfly is already in there included. So you would go to maoshan.thunderwizard.com and you see at the bottom the spirit fighting first set. And you can get that at maoshan.thunderwizard.com. Now, what's going to happen, as I said, is this toroidal field in your body is going to get stronger and stronger. That's just the energetic physical component. What's going to be happening to you mentally and spiritually is that your entire world is going to come apart. But you're going to be able to go to places, go to dimensions that humans have not been able to go to. And what's going to happen to you physically is, first off, when you do the practices, one of the things you're going to notice is a huge amount of energy coming out of the hands. The heart center is going to release that Shi energy, which is the higher dimensional electromagnetic energy, and it's going to come out through a specific pathway, which is the heart mind, the Shi, and it's going to come out the palms and the hands, and you're going to be able to do things My teacher, he started doing the spirit fighting, and the next thing he knew, he did body work. He was healing people. He'd be touching people and he'd go, "Wow, what happened when you were 6 years old?" And he was, people, because he was putting so much energy into their body and healing them in ways that, people just have never experienced before. Other things happen to me. Other people get other powers. So you're going to get whatever you're going to get, but you'll know it's happening when all that energy starts coming out of your hands. And then later, we are going to work to open up all of the energy centers in the body. I could go deeper into that, but I'll do that on some other videos. So that's what's available. Now, I've only told you the beginner and the intermediate. There's an advanced level. The advanced level, nobody is ready for yet. So when somebody's gotten through all of the 5 elements and they've done the first set and they've gotten to a level of mastery, then I'm going to take you huge quantum leap. The second set is called the butterfly set, and this will open up the heart center. That energy I'm talking about, it's going to open it up in ways you can't even begin to believe. It's when you go through the mirror, when you go through the veil, you're able to go into the other realm and back into this realm. When I learned that set, I went bonkers because I wasn't ready for it. This was, 30 years ago when I was living a 3D life, and it completely tore my life apart. It took me a long time to expand into that energy, but it's going to be a lot easier for you because we're already shifting. You feel weird right now because your body's like, I don't like it here. Wait till you get to the advanced levels. Then there's a set above that, which is called the Immortal set. And that set will, if you master that, you'll leave your body and you'll go straight to the source. I've already experienced that in the Element set, so I know that this can happen. Then there's more. There's one called the Spirit Fist, which is a magical set, and there's one that I'm working on now. I'm working together with this entity, and this is called the Dark Warrior of the North, who is the master of complete yin and yang. And this is a completely different set. Doesn't look like any of the others. It's big and it's powerful, and it just creates so much energy, and your aura just gets huge. I'm going to be teaching that one very soon as well. So that's what's coming. Feel free to contact me and ask me any questions you want about any of this. All right? So there we go. That's all I have for right now, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much, and I love you all. Please be very good to yourselves. And until next time, be good to yourself. I already said that. Okay, bye.